with a big stare like Stone Cold with a few beers. Play the game, I end the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, tell like I'm some muscle. If you suck with like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the vein, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you wait down with that, then I got two words for you, suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, too
Welcome everyone to, you might be confused, but yes, this is Wrestle Radio Australia, and we have On The Turnbuckle's own Welchy. You look shocked, mate. Have I broken into the stream or something?
No, I was shocked because I thought the video froze again, and I was really worried because I'm trying everything to get this working.
Yes, we've had
Australian internet.
Yeah, we've had technical difficulties today. So what we're here for tonight is we wanted to talk about the WWE releases, because of course if you're on top of it, you realize one of them was Australia's own Matt Silver, Buddy Murphy. So I thought I'd get on the line with me mate Welchy and have a chat about it. I mean, of course they released Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, Santana Garrett. Were you shocked that they actually let like Matt go or Buddy Murphy go? I mean, as much as like there's a lot of guys that are not on TV at the moment, and I hate to say, but there's not a hell of a lot that are as talented.
I reckon. Yeah, I think he's one of the better wrestlers they've got. But we had a conversation. I reckon it was a couple of months ago, where I said, would he even mind if he got cut? And we weren't sure, but I think that after he gets past the initial shock of I've been let go, I think he's going to see it as an opportunity. His tweets over the last few weeks have indicated he's not happy. He wants to do more, and he's the type of guy who's going to bet on himself. So I think we will see. I don't know where we're going to see him and how many places we're going to see him, but I think we're going to see him come out balls to the wall and he'll be having match of the year candidates before the end of the year. Yeah,
it's one of those things. Like he's had one of those matches that I'll never forget, because it was when he won the cruiserweight title in Melbourne. And that's just one of those goosebump moments for, I guess, all Australian fans that were there.
Pop.
Yeah, it was a goosebump moment.
That pop,
especially for people that that very rare few that followed him through all the Australian independents. Because like I said with I think it was Davis, or I can't remember who it was. No, it was Chris Fresh. We're talking about how they can get 65,000 into a show at the MCG or wherever it was, but we can't get over 1,000 to every one of our shows. Just like that 1,000 or so people that knew him from when he was Matt Silver in MCW or that sort of thing. That's sort of something that I know I'll never forget that, because that's one of those very, very, very rare moments where, because we're in the business, or I'm speaking for myself, I'm in the business, so I'm not in the business. you watch a hell of a lot. But I'm in that sort of mainframe where I'll probably overanalyze matches when I'm watching them. But at that moment, I didn't. I was completely in that moment and like just so happy for the guy. So I think that's why we're more shocked.
Well, it was a double-edged sword too, because I didn't know if we'd see a title change, because I've never, like, I've seen an NXT title change live, but I didn't know if they'd do it. I thought it would be like when they had their other big show here, Global Warning, where it's just a glorified house show. Yeah, I didn't think we'd see a title change, and then for that title change to be an Australian who's a footy fan winning the title at a packed MCG. There's a lot of romance,
Yeah. Yeah, and we all know how WWE like celebrating hometown people, so you just never knew what really was going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's also a case of we've been very proud at how we're batting above our weight in WWE for quite a while, and to have 3 of our kids lose their jobs in the last couple of months, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, as much as we celebrate how well Indy's doing, how well Bronson Reed, Jonah Rock's doing, how well Rhea Ripley's doing, to get that other side of the coin now where it's like, well, shit, the Iconics are gone and now Buddy's gone. And like, you have to wonder about like how long that they're going to keep someone like Shane Thorne, who should be doing amazing things for him because he is an amazing worker. When you're seeing them cut people like Aleister Black.
And he's got good size.
Yeah. You see him they cut someone like Aleister Black, you're just like, woof. I know, honestly, obviously they're probably on a very different like pay scale. And maybe that's what's keeping him around at the moment. Because I know I don't know for a fact, but I know that's what they'll be looking at. They'll be looking at how much was this person for what we're getting. Get rid of them.
That's got to be what's cost Braun his job.
100%. That has to be, because he was signed up through to 2023 at $1 million a year, I think it was. So I mean,
now I don't know American contract law that well. I know Australian contract law, and this stuff wouldn't wash. But in American contract law, could they have given Braun the opportunity to renegotiate and stay, or is it just like, nah, you're gone? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you don't know.
It's very American sports contracts are really cold, and WWE seems to do it the exact same way.
Yeah, well, especially in the NFL. The NFL is
because I saw
brutal.
Shane Heal's. Shane Heal's daughter got drafted pick 8 and she's played 2 or 3 games and got traded while she was at the airport on the way to an away game, and then she was waived by the club she was traded to. So she's 19, she's already out of the league.
Bloody hell.
After 4 weeks.
No, well,
it's cold.
Yeah, well, there was that story. It was his Nick Collison got traded 6 times in one day in the NBA. So I mean, what can you do?
And then he was waived. I'm sure he was waived at the end.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah. It makes you wonder that maybe, and I don't know this at all. Maybe something the rumored negotiations with New Japan haven't really panned out, because they probably would have done something like, we'll give you these guys, you just bury them away for a while, or I don't know. I like 100%. I have no idea what's going on with that, but because you would think someone like an Aleister Black would be great.
That's another reason, though.
Yeah, but then like I said,
tell me they all wouldn't have been great.
Yeah. Because when we tried recording this before, I didn't go off on a rant, but I ranted-ish. It was a rant-ish. They mustn't have talked.
It's not like you.
I know, it's very unlike me. They mustn't have talked, like creative must not have been talking with the number crunchers that were deciding who was going to let go. Because I don't know why you would release Aleister Black. Literally, like last Friday in America, he was the last shot on that SmackDown television show in the biggest angle of his comeback, like a comeback that they'd been playing vignettes for like 2 months. So surely somebody's not talking to somebody there, and they've gone, oh, him. Oh, sorry, we just let him go.
It's crazy because they've got one of his shirts still on pre-order on WWE shop, or at least it was like that when I checked about an hour ago. And the other one is like Ruby Riott was wrestling on TV on the last SmackDown, and they were doing an angle of what's next for the Riott squad after they lost a big match. So, I mean, I don't watch a lot of WWE anymore. I just watch the pay-per-views because it's hard to watch at times weekly. I just watch the YouTube recap usually, but they make it hard to support them at times.
Yeah, they really do. Like
I
don't
want to find excuses to support them.
No, I find what segments Rhea Ripley's in, and I'll watch them for Raw. But aside from that, I don't really watch Raw. I watch SmackDown because I actually don't mind that.
They're fucking Rhea up at the moment as well. Like, why aren't they letting her be Rhea? They're making her into a cartoonish version of Rhea. Like, she'll do the best anyone can do with it, but they're not going with what got her to the dance.
Yeah, the thing I'm hanging on to hope for is because I know Rhea and Charlotte is a good match. From WrestleMania, I know that's a good match, and I'm looking forward to seeing that again. But
it was a brilliant match. It was probably top 3 from Mania.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing, like, I watch NXT because I think that's for my taste, that is the best in-ring show at the moment for what I like in wrestling. And I watch SmackDown because I enjoy what they're doing with Roman Reigns at the moment. I'm enjoying that whole thing that's
Roman's number 1 in the business at the moment.
Yeah.
Roman's number 1 for me. But I mean, we all, the good thing to come out of this horrible situation is, as armchair bookers, which we all are. I mean, you're an actual booker, but I'm an armchair booker. We get to sit back and fantasy book where we see these guys landing and these girls landing. And for the first time in 20 years, that's an exciting landscape.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, like, if I said this before when we did the tried to do the recording before, if I was AEW, I would be like, because I think somebody on the internet worked it out today, and because it's a 90-day non-compete, apparently their non-compete runs out 2 days before All Out. I would have Ruby Riott or Heidi Lovelace showing up. Is it?
Well, it's got to be a mistake. No, it's a mistake from WWE not
100%.
Not to have worked that out.
Yeah.
Like,
I would be having her show
because
up.
even if none of them turn up on AEW, people are going to buy the pay-per-view to see if they turn up.
Yeah, which is funny because that's like, that last pay-per-view is the first one that I haven't bought.
Same.
It's the first one that I've sort of done the dodgy and looked at some like streams of it, because it just didn't interest me enough to want to. And I've paid for every.
Wrestling.in.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've paid for all of their product before. That's why I don't feel bad about like criticizing it, because I pay for it. And same with the Dynamite. I don't mind.
And I'm the same. I was buying Dynamite, not watching.
Yeah, I pay to watch Dynamite.
Like, I was buying it and not watching.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, I still watch it because, like, the wrestling business still fascinates me. I still love it. And they have so much talent, and it frustrates me what they're doing with it. But I'll watch because I want to see them hopefully turn it around. Like, because I don't want them to fail at all. I just want them to be what I like. Like, I don't want them to sign like a tag team like FTR and then not have them ever wrestle in proper actual matches. Have them do all these stadium stampedes, and do you know what I mean? Like, there was so many like good matches that they can have, and they're just not having them at the moment.
Yeah, well, with the Revival, it's funny because their best stuff was all against DIY, and it's like we got almost the perfect opponents for them, and everything else that either team did feels like a letdown ever since. I mean, I'm not anti the Revival or FTR. I'm just not, like, I don't know. I think they lean, when they're in AEW, they lean too much into the being like Arn and Tully.
I can see that, but see, that's probably what I like about.
Who cares what I think?
But that's the same with even like you look at Santana and Garrett. I don't know how many times I've actually seen them wrestle as a tag team on Dynamite since its inception. And they're one of the best tag teams going around. And you hardly ever see them actually work as a tag team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem when we see teams not doing what they should be doing.
Yeah.
I'm having issues with the internet.
I can tell that, sir.
So I'm trying to move higher. I'm moving higher. Hopefully this helps. This is where I was recording earlier, so
I see.
I had no problems.
Yes. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that quickly. Who have you got coming up next? Because you took a COVID break this week, or a lockdown break. So who have you got coming up next week on the show?
We've got Sam Osborne from PWA coming up. We actually recorded it tonight, and it's a really good chat. Sam's done a lot for his young years, and I think it's time a Melbourne promotion brings him down here.
Yeah, I was a while ago, because I told you off air that we worked him. We worked him a few years ago up here, and I was like, that kid has got it, and it's just going to take a couple of years for him to find out what his actual proper thing is, and then he'll be fine. And I think he's done that at the moment in PWA. He's found that sort of that character that he can really work, and it seems to be working for him because he's got the main event happening in that. So with Jess Troy, which I don't think I'm telling tales out of school is my favorite wrestler in Australia at the moment.
Yeah, I think that you sometimes lie to yourself and say top 5, but she's definitely your number 1.
Yeah, I do it just to qualify it, because I don't want people to think I'm just like, because there are a lot of people out there that are just like, women's wrestling, yay. No, wrestling, yay.
No, I get it as well, because
like
sometimes you'll see a match of someone else's and yeah, pure wrestling wise, she's number 1.
So,
but yeah, Sam's really good. We've got a few lined up at the moment. I'm actually organised for once, so that's going to be good. Who have you got next week?
I have no idea. still don't know. There's a couple I'm reaching out to, and I'll have a look. And I might even, like this weekend, I'm working a show with Brooksy and with Mark Davis. So I don't know if I might try and catch up with them. It's really hard to do. Like every show I go to where there's someone there, I'm like, I'm going to pull aside this guy for half an hour. We'll have a chat and I'll record it. And it'll be great.
The difference of actually recording in the same room as someone.
Yeah. But it never happens because we're always...
And Brooksy's a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. The thing is that like literally I've got... Well, we stopped recording for like 5 minutes and I had 5 text messages from him looking for white wrist tape. So, I mean, it's like, I forgot what it was like being with Brooksy.
I think the whole of Melbourne's looking for wrist tape at the moment. I saw Joel Bateman saying that he needed to find some.
Yeah, apparently white wrist tape is the most valuable commodity in Australian wrestling. So if somebody has a stash of it,
and fake tan.
Yeah, and fake tan. Unless you're Sting and you don't use any of
that. Well, I think, what do you reckon happened to the fake tan industry last year with no wrestling on in Australia?
Oh yeah, it would have absolutely plummeted. I feel for the one worker that bought himself that little tent and all that. I'm going to make such a hustle side out of this. And then the shows. Because I remember back in the days, this years ago, in RC Dub, Miami bought the tent, and she had all the tanning equipment, and it was like the night before the show, set up, everyone go in there, get tanned up. I was always lucky because fat white manager really suits me.
You don't need a tan.
No, I'm doing it for them to make them look better.
Yeah, the the funny part is when did you ever see the Ballroom Brawl where Unit took the medication that was meant to give you the tan, and he ended up coming out looking like an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, he looked his head orange.
He went bright purple.
Well, you know, you live and
He
learn.
walked out. It looked like he'd been. Oh, it was funny. He was not happy about it either.
No. Oh, mate, like, I feel like we've ignored Santana Garrett completely. But let's.
Yeah, look, she's a good enough wrestler. She'll probably turn up on Impact. I see that as a good home for her.
That's the thing, though. Like, I don't even like.
She's not one that stands out.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't even like. I try to watch Impact and I cannot even get into it. Like, there's no way I can't do it. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's the fact that they haven't even really bothered to try and do. There's just like the dark arena, and they still try and do it. Like Raw did it back when the pandemic first hit. So everything is sort of quiet, and I just can't, unless it's something like Ring of Honor, where the action in the ring is just so good, you don't notice it. I can't. I really have a hard time doing it without crowd, or watching it without the crowd, or some white noise.
Because Impact's quite good, but I feel like what they've done is they've positioned themselves as AEW Light now, where, you know, their title's secondary to AEW's title. Whereas Ring of Honor have taken the time to reinvent themselves and make themselves different. So their product feels different to everybody else's product. It's more of because it's got that real sport feel.
Which is what
which
I
someone
thought,
like Kellyanne's going to thrive in.
Yeah, and that's something I thought that AEW was going to be when they first started pitching what it was going to be. I thought that's what it was going to be. So I think that's why I'm probably drawn to watching ROH a lot more, because that's that sports-based presentation that they said they were going to do. And that's what ROH are doing. That's what they've done. They're watching their shows reminds me of, not as much because there's no crowd, but what they were doing back in the day when it was like Samoa Joe and Punk and that sort of style of wrestling. It's especially when they brought the Pure back. The Pure title back is the best move that they could have done.
Yeah, and it's an easy hour of TV. I think shorter TV helps the. I'm going to be rude and say secondary promotions. It really helps them because it's such an easier write for your creative team, but it's such a more digestible product for the viewer. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, 3 hours is just a slog, and I think it showed last night. This week on. Yeah, we'll look at the Raw ratings this week. The Raw ratings this week for that last hour was atrocious. It was like 1.1 million or something.
Well, Todd, when does a consumer sit down and watch 3 hours of anything unless they've paid $20 for it? So,
yeah,
like, I'll watch a 3 hour movie if I've paid $20 to go see it. But I tend not to even watch a 3 hour movie on Netflix.
Well, that's the bad thing. Even that the AEW pay-per-view, I fell asleep the first time I tried to watch it. I think I got halfway through.
It's long.
It was four and a bit hours. I got halfway through the Omega match, and next thing you know, I woke up. I was like, oh shit, that's over. I'll have to try and watch that again tomorrow. It's just that.
Well, that's the thing. You're falling asleep during a match that's actually super exciting. It's like,
yeah,
it's not because of the product. It's because of the length.
Yeah, and it's because also I'd watched the pre-show, and I'm glad I did, because that was like Serena Deeb's match was one of the best matches on that card. And she's someone that's an amazing worker as well.
Yeah, it's funny what goes on pre-shows. I think it's got to the point where the pre-shows of AEW, they don't tend to be a throwaway match anymore.
No, because
It's just something that got bumped from the card, whereas you'll watch that where you pay per view often. It's clearly a Raw.
Yeah, and it's just I find it funny when you go to a local promotion and they go, "Oh, we're going to have a dark match," and I'm like, "When's the lights go on? I mean, when you dark match, you're just having an extra match. Don't bullshit anyone. It's not a dark match. It's an extra match."
I'm okay with it, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm okay with the idea of any promotion that's got a school attached, giving guys a match where they're telling the crowd this isn't part of the show, so the crowd aren't going to shit on them. They're going to watch the kids work, and then when those kids debut 3 months down the track, there's some recognition of them, and we know who they are. So I'm okay with any company that's got a school attached having dark matches.
That's a fair call.
Or bonus matches.
Yeah. It's just the idea of calling it that. It's like dark.
Yeah.
Match.
But if it's not going to go onto your video on demand, it's a dark match. So like say DMDU, if they're going to do it and they don't put it onto IWTV, it's a dark match. If MCW don't put it on their video on demand, or if PWA don't put it on to Fight TV. So we're at the point now, which is amazing to think, where all of our stuff is getting televised. So I guess they are dark matches again.
Yeah. Well, for those ones they are, but for your local, like your local, like,
agreed.
Yeah. That sort of thing. Like, you're not doing it. Like, why? There's nothing dark about this. The lights are still on. What are you talking about? But
you know why those guys are doing the dark match? It's because the rookie's having his first match, so there's 30 extra tickets sold with his family come down.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the problem with that. Like, when you got a guy debuting, never put that guy on first. It's the worst idea in the world. I remember we did it once.
The crowd leaves.
We did it. We did it once with in RC Dub. We had like an academy show, and there's only like, I think at that time there was like maybe 50, 60 seats in the old academy, and
so
we had but the Pariah used to have that little manager with him, Big Steen.
Jimmy.
No, Big. There's another guy. It's called Big. He was called Big Steen, but he was like a little dude.
Yeah.
He had a debut match there, and I reckon he drew about 40 of that 60 to 70 people. They put him on first, and then they all left, or a majority of them left.
They went to Villies.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you, Chris Fresh? Why wouldn't you?
Chris Fresh wouldn't.
Yeah, I know.
Better than a pie floater, that's for sure.
Jeez. I think that.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I think PCW, when they ran the 2,000 seat show, they made the mistake of putting the rookie rumble on a bit early. So and it was a long show, so some of the crowd filtered out and missed an incredible main event. But the next show they definitely kept that match to later in the card.
Yeah. A little tip to promoters around the country that might not already know this. If you have a guy debuting and you think he's going to buy a lot of his friends are going to buy tickets, have him the match after Inter. Because then they're not likely to walk out before the main event. They've stayed long enough now. They're like, well, fuck it, we're here. Let's just watch the final match.
Yeah. It's like we're here. We'll stay for Slacks.
Yeah, why not?
Everyone should stay for Slacks.
Everyone should stay for Slacks. All right, mate. Well, we probably didn't cover exactly what we wanted to. We had a good chat, and that's all I really care about nowadays. So
we covered it the first time.
We did.
We covered it the first time. It's just that one.
Yes. The old. I
don't think we even mentioned. Do we mention everybody?
I don't think we mentioned Lana, but I mean.
Well, I honestly don't know what happens with her. I don't know where she ends up.
She ends up in AEW.
Let's just go through everyone quickly. Go through everyone. Where are they going to end up and doing what? So we'll start with Lana. So you think AEW? I think she doesn't work.
I think AEW, and she comes out with Miro again, and that's their big pop. He comes out at All Out, and she comes out with him. And
That's probably what's going to happen.
That's their big pop for that. What about Alan? Where do you think that Braun?
Santana Garrett, we spoke about.
Yep.
I think he'll probably show up on AEW, but I'd like to see him go do a year in Japan.
But the funny thing is, he did an interview not long ago.
I think.
Sorry. The funny thing is, he did an interview not long ago where he said he didn't want to work for anyone but Vince McMahon. He would never wrestle for anyone but Vince McMahon. So it's going to be interesting to see if he decides that that's what he wants to do.
That's when he thought he would never get sacked.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about it, you're that size, you're that shape. It's kind of the guy that Vince never sacks, really.
And you've had those opportunities. Like, so, you think they're going to keep coming.
Yeah. But yeah, I can imagine like an All Out if they did another one of those Casino Battle Royals, him coming out as the final. I can imagine something like that.
Yeah. If I was going to sign Braun and I'm them, I sign him and don't use him for the first couple of months so that everyone forgets that his contract's just run out, like his non-compete's just run out, and then he just turns up.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that is...
But no one does that anymore.
Well, the problem with that is that, I don't know if it's the same with TBS, but TNT told AEW that they weren't allowed to do surprise some things anymore because they want them to advertise it to get people to actually watch the show.
Which is stupid because...
It is.
But it's stupid because if you're getting surprises every 4 weeks, I have to watch every week because this is what happened with the NWO. You had to watch every week because you didn't know what was going to happen and who was going to turn up. Like, without the element of surprise, like, imagine advertising like your TV, your Game of Thrones. Oh, and this week at the wedding, they're all going to get murdered.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's how
the shock value's got to be there.
Yeah, but that's how they got around the whole thing with Mark Henry because they did it on pay-per-view and then announced he would be at Dynamite to talk.
Yeah, so you do the turn-ups on pay-per-view.
Yeah, which is like you said, it's counterproductive to what
it's not.
Yeah, you want that Lex Luger showing up in the
It's TV executives not understanding. It's TV executives not understanding wrestling.
Yeah,
and wrestling fandom.
Aleister Black, where do you reckon he goes?
I think AEW is where he ends up. Like, he can actually be the guy there. Like, he's capable of being the guy.
I think maybe New Japan, but then he could do both when you're New Japan. So
wouldn't. Yeah, this is the beauty now. People can do both.
Yeah. Well, Ruby Riott, you know what I think. I want her at that All Out. So that's where I think she's going to. It's where I think she should go.
Yeah, I think that's where she probably should go. I think Impact have a very good record of getting the girls that are available.
Yeah, well.
So it'll depend on what she wants to do. Does she want an opportunity to lead a division, or does she want to work in a talented division? I think she should go to AEW, but we'll see.
Yeah, because I can just like in my head, I can see the matches she can have there, like with Serena Deeb and with Britt Baker and with. You know what I mean? There's a whole host of girls that she could work with and have great matches, and even maybe help like a Jade Cargill come along and a Red Velvet come along because she's got.
Well, I think she can be a locker room. Yeah, I think she can be a locker room leader.
Yeah, exactly right. And finally, where do you think our boy Matt Silver, Buddy Murphy shows up?
This is an intriguing one because I don't know. It'll depend on what he wants to do. So I think AEW and it's easy to say AEW for everybody. I hope he doesn't go to Impact. But I think Ring of Honor, AEW, or Japan.
So basically any of the other, anywhere but WWE.
any of the others except for nowhere except for Impact or MLW.
Well, the thing is, like, you look at Impact and like they've got Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, and you don't really ever hear about them now. The most I ever hear from them is from their podcast.
They're also the guys, but they're also the guys that nobody wanted. They're like WWE guys.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, yeah.
Impact was probably their only option.
Yeah. Which is, I really thought he would end up, Matt Cardona anyway, I thought he would end up in AEW just because of he had that close relationship with Cody. And like, he isn't a bad worker. It's not like he's a bad worker. And for years, everyone wanted him to see him get that push in WWE that never really happened, except in a wheelchair off the stage. But I mean, the guy's got the talent. It's just, yeah, something.
Yeah, but you have Matt Cardona turn up on AEW, and if you don't think he's going to be your top guy, he's bigger than everybody else.
Yeah.
So it leaves you in a really tough spot with your booking because you're not going to push him to the moon. How are you explaining why the guy with the best body, the best on the mic, and the biggest isn't winning matches?
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice the other day, and this is probably off topic completely, but you've got Lance Archer, right? He's supposed to be like the Murder Hawk monster, and he's manages Jake Roberts, and Jake doesn't make him look like a monster because Jake's not that much shorter than him. Have you noticed that? I've noticed it the other day. I'm like, they're not that far.
Jake almost at times looks bigger than him.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just like, why wouldn't you? I mean, you'd think you'd get like a smaller guy.
I noticed that a while ago.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the other night. I saw him doing a promo. I'm like, he doesn't look tall, but he's standing.
I believe I'm in a group chat where I complained heavily about that.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. Mate, it's been great to chat, and we'll wrap this up because, like I said, this is the bonus episode.
Yeah, it's not Bobby the Brain. It's not Bobby the Brain Heaton that he's staying next to. No. But, well, let's face it, mate, these guys that they have as their managers aren't really being managers anyway. Well, there's not a hell of a lot of them that are doing that. I mean, you look at Team Taz, and Team Taz is never actually a manager. He just goes and commentates every one of their matches. Like, the only one who's an actual genuine manager is Tully Blanchard at the moment that I see. Anyway, I was trying to wrap up, and you'll get me on a manager rant, and I don't want to do that. For those out there that want to follow, yeah, it's interesting. They've got gangs anyway.
I hate the Australian internet. I hate it. For those of you or for those out there that want to follow. All your guys working on the turnbuckle, and they do a really good job. I said do. How can they follow you guys and be abreast of what's going on? I pretty much share your shows every week. So aside from that, how can they follow you and know when your shows are up, mate?
Yeah, I think we're at On The
And that is where we finally gave up on the Australian internet. I want to thank Welchy for coming on the show. Please do go and follow On The Turnbuckle. They are at On The Turnbuckle pretty much everywhere. So go and follow them. Great conversations with a lot of Australian wrestlers around the country, just like I do here every week. If you wanted to add another podcast to your queue, On The Turnbuckle is definitely one to do that. They have Sam Osborne on next week. Stole that from me, the little bars. No, they got in first, to be honest with you. So go and listen to that because Sam is a great worker, and a good conversation will be had by those boys, I'm sure. I guess we'll just do the normal wrap up. Follow us on Insta, Twitter, everything at Wrestle Radio AU. I'm personally at Beast Eastman. If you're on Facebook, just look us up, Wrestle Radio Australia. On YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think that covers it. If you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star, all of that sort of stuff. I can definitely promise, I can try and promise that this next week's episode, whoever I get, the internet will not be like this. But until then, Todd Eastman, it's my opinion. You're entitled to it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us on this special episode. It was a special episode. What do you want?